Formula One fans, is Lance Stroll better than Fernando Alonso in 2025? I know what you're asking. Whoa, Peter, what are you doing? What drugs are you taking? I don't take drugs. I don't do any of these things. But you know what I am doing? Looking at the stats, looking at the numbers, looking at the performances of Lance Stroll. I'm looking at the performances of Fernando Alonso, and I'm looking at the performances in general with Aston Martin. Now, I think Lance Stroll has been pretty good this season. I know that's going to sound a bit crazy, and what's funny is that no one's talking about Lance Stroll. Normally in Formula One, people talk about Lance Stroll and there's only one thing that they talk about, is how terrible he is how much of a waste of space he is how much he doesn't want to be here in Formula One. He's just taking up space in the Formula One calendar. But you know what's very interesting? When I don't hear a word about Lance Stroll, I pay attention. I pay attention to the silence, because it must mean that he's doing something that is either worthy of praise, or he's just not doing anything that's making people get angry or upset. Because the Formula One world loves to be angry and upset. It certainly does. And yet, we're just going to keep quiet that Fernando Alonso and Lance Stroll have the same points in Formula One this season so far, at the halfway point, or just over the halfway point, in fact. 26 points each. Very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. Lance Stroll is level with Fernando Alonso in 2025. Now, I bring this up because the Aston Martin is improving. I don't know if you guys are paying attention to Aston Martin lately, but they're improving. They're getting points now. They're collecting some points. And I'm hearing Adrian Newey's got a little bit more intricate in the team at the moment, right? It's got a little bit more of his DNA, handprint, you know what I mean? Fingerprints all on the chassis so far this season. A few tweaks, a few improvements here and there. Obviously, his full focus will be on 2026. But that doesn't mean we cannot talk about what's going on, the improvement that we are seeing from Aston Martin in 2025. In the last 3 races, they've had 2 top 10 finishes. Both drivers, by the way, both drivers getting 12 points each in that as well. Belgium was a disaster, but the British Grand Prix, as well as the Hungarian Grand Prix, scenes of glorious emotions. It's a weird season for Aston Martin because they sit P6 in the constructors, okay, which isn't terrible, but they're behind Williams. Williams, people. Yeah, I know the Williams of this year we've got used to now. We've got like 14 races under our belts with this Williams. But remember who Williams were. Remember where Williams were. Remember they came from the slums. They came from the bottom when they were having Latifi and Logan Sargent and the like, right? Meanwhile, Alex Albon was there, slaving away, doing his best in that Williams. And finally, he's sort of reaping those rewards, right? It's still been a tough season for them, and it seems like they're on the decline for the rest of the season. The way, the body language, the talk that's coming out of Williams, and the drivers especially, they don't seem to be as impressive or as good as they were at the start of this season. But that's none, you know, by the by, they are P5 in the constructors, and that is phenomenal by Williams. Incredible. So Aston Martin are behind them. Aston Martin are also behind almost a one-legged Red Bull, if that makes sense, for the lack of a better term. They've got one driver, Red Bull, really, this season, because Yuki Tsunoda has 10 points in the Red Bull this season, okay? Max Verstappen is collecting all these points. He's got like 100 and something plus, right? So he's collecting a whole host of points. And that is like, it's just one-man team, really. If you want to go even further, Mercedes seem to have sort of one driver-ish, because they've got a rookie, a 19-year-old in the other seat, right? So can we include 2 drivers in that Mercedes seat? Yeah, you probably can, because there's a lot of points in there. But I think Aston Martin now will be looking at it thinking, man, we should have been in that mix, because they were there a couple of years ago in the mix of that top 3, top 4 constructors battle, when I was seeing Fernando Alonso before my very eyes on podiums with Charles Leclerc and Max Verstappen. It was something to behold, and we thought we were going to see something sensational. And unfortunately, it kind of declined. But this is why Aston Martin have acted the way they have behind the scenes, getting the right personnel in. You know, they're changing to Honda next season. That's going to be very interesting. I wonder how that will work out for them in Formula One. They'll be the only team with Honda. Of course, Red Bull with their powertrains. God knows what's going to go on over there. But it's not been a terrible year. But you could say that they wish they could have had done more. But they have definitely improved. There's no doubt about that. 26 points though per driver isn't great, but I think we are on the move. Like I said, top 10 finishes in the last 3 races, two times. So they have been on a bit of a resurgence. That's all I can say. The last 6 points collectively, Aston Martin, right? 6 points in Canada. They got 6 points in Austria. They got 8 points at the British Grand Prix. Belgium was horrendous for them. They got no points. It was an absolute, you remember the Belgian Grand Prix, it was absolute scenes, and it just wasn't the day. In that wet race day, it wasn't for Aston Martin. But then Hungary, they got 16 points collectively. Like, that is absolutely brilliant. And Lance Stroll gets, slandered year in, year out, and with reason. I share the frustrations that people have had about Lance Stroll. Definitely, I have. But then, guys, come forward. It's because if he's doing well, we need to talk about him the same way. We've got to talk about Lance Stroll the same way if he's doing well. You know what I mean? Or if he's not doing poorly. Because he's either doing poorly or he's doing like one great race he's got like a great race every 5 races maybe, or every 10 races, Lance Stroll, right? That's kind of been his thing. But he's been slowly, steadily consistent. People, you're too quiet though. The people are quiet, and I need to know why they are quiet. Why is there no praise for him? Why are we not talking about him? And that's why this video had to be made, because I wasn't hearing anything good about Lance Stroll. But Lance Stroll's done really good. If you think Fernando Alonso is good, and if you think he's doing good, we need to talk about 2025 specifically, right? I'll preface that. I'm not saying he is better than Fernando Alonso overall, because of course he's not. But whilst we are here and we're seeing Fernando Alonso a bit happier, a little bit more a spring in his step, right? Lance Stroll has just kind of been like, shut up and drive. He's been doing it pretty well. He's been doing it pretty well. So Lance Stroll could be here. He could be here. Like, when I say here, I mean he might have arrived. The car is on the mend. Might be getting 10 times better. Who knows what Aston Martin will be in 2026? And if they're going to be phenomenal, and Lance Stroll is right there, I'm just here to say, listen, put some respect on Lance Stroll's name in 2025. Is that fair? I think that's fair. I think it's fair. Lance Stroll has done a good job. He's done a decent job. He's done a job as good as Fernando Alonso. Same points. And Aston Martin are P6 in the constructors. Credit to both of those drivers. So you guys let me know what you think in terms of Lance Stroll's, I guess, trajectory. Is it real? Is it something to be believed? Is there something that we can actually look forward to? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below, because I'm intrigued to see how Aston Martin get on. I'm watching them very, very closely. Next season, they're going to be very, very good, I think. They're going to be very, very good. And they'll be interesting because they were with a different engine supplier, as I mentioned earlier. So that will always be fun. There's a lot of engine suppliers next season. So that's going to throw a nice, good mix in there. YouTube thinks you'll like this video over here, so make sure you do click on that and comment down your thoughts below, because I'm intrigued to see what you guys have to say about this. Until next time, lights out.